If you're in the tech world, you hear two terms thrown around all the time: DevOps and SRE. And, they often get used like they mean the same thing, which it causes a lot of confusion. So what's the real story here? Are they rivals fighting for the same turf, or is there a deeper connection? Well, in this explainer, we are going to get to the bottom of it.
So yeah, this is the big question, isn't it? Are DevOps and site reliability engineering rivals, or are they actually relatives? It turns out, to really get their relationship, you first have to understand the problem they were both created to solve. You have to go back to an old way of working that was causing a ton of friction.
For the longest time, a lot of companies saw their IT operations teams as just a cost center. Their whole job was basically to keep the lights on, and the main goal was to spend as little money as possible while doing it. This created this huge, short-sighted wall between the developers, who were trying to build cool new features, and the operations teams, who were just trying to keep everything from crashing. It was a recipe for conflict and really slow, painful progress. So clearly, that old way of thinking just wasn't cutting it. It sparked a revolution, really. Let's start with the first part of that revolution: DevOps. And the best way to think about DevOps is as a guiding philosophy. When you boil it all down, DevOps is about one main thing: breaking down those silos we just talked about. It's really a cultural movement that says, hey, the people who build the software, the people who run it, and yeah, the people who secure it, they should all be working together, collaboratively, across the entire life of a product. There's a pretty handy acronym to remember the DevOps philosophy: COMS. It all kicks off with C for culture. Once you have that, you can bring in A for automation to handle all the repetitive stuff. Then you can adopt a lean approach to get rid of waste. Use M for measurement to actually see if you're getting better. And finally, encourage S for sharing knowledge across the whole organization. See how they all connect? Each one kind of builds on the one before it. And this right here, this is one of the biggest cultural shifts that DevOps brings to the table. Instead of this big witch hunt for who to blame when things go wrong, the focus completely changes. The philosophy just accepts that in really complex systems, failures are going to happen. Accidents are normal. So the most important thing isn't trying to prevent every single failure. That's impossible. It's building systems that can bounce back from failure as fast as possible. Okay, so if DevOps is the philosophy, what about the practice? How do you actually do it? Well, that brings us to site reliability engineering, or SRE. This is a very specific discipline that famously came out of Google, and it offers a super concrete way to put that DevOps philosophy into action. This is the absolute heart of SRE. It takes all the work of running these massive systems, work that used to be manual and reactive, and it says, you know what? This is a software problem. And how do you solve software problems? Well, you solve them with software engineering. You design, you code, and you build better systems to do the work for you. And SRE is super specific about how you do this. It follows a really clear set of principles. It starts with managing by SLOs, or service level objectives. These are clear, data-driven targets for how reliable a system should be. That focus naturally drives you to minimize toil, which is just a great word for all that manual, repetitive work that burns engineers out. The big goal is to automate so much that your job this year looks totally different from your job last year. And all of that lets you reduce the cost of failure, and finally, to truly share ownership with developers. Now, SRE makes this incredibly powerful commitment with a hard and fast rule: 50%. This means an SRE can spend no more than half their time on that manual operational toil. But the real genius here isn't seeing this as a cap. It's seeing it as a guarantee. It guarantees that at least half of an engineer's time is protected for doing proactive, creative engineering, the work that actually solves problems for good. Okay, so let's recap. We've got DevOps, the broad philosophy about culture and breaking down walls. And we've got SRE, this very specific engineering-driven discipline for running reliable systems. So we're back to our original question. Are they rivals or are they relatives? The perfect answer comes straight from the Google engineers who invented SRE, and it's this brilliant metaphor from programming. Class SRE implements interface DevOps. Now, if you're not a coder, don't worry, stick with me. Think of an interface as a blueprint. It's a set of rules that defines what you need to do. A class is the actual concrete thing you build based on that blueprint. It's the how. And this table just lays it out perfectly. DevOps says measurement is absolutely crucial, and SRE delivers with those data-driven service-level objectives. DevOps says you've got to reduce silos, and SRE implements that with shared ownership. DevOps values automation, SRE enforces it with things like toil budgets. Even the idea of making gradual changes is put into practice with things like canary releases, where you roll out changes to just a small group first. For every philosophical goal in DevOps, SRE offers a concrete, real-world practice. So we know they're related, but putting this stuff into practice, whether you end up calling it DevOps or SRE, it takes more than just buying some new tools. It requires a really fundamental shift in how your whole organization operates. So let's look at what it actually takes to succeed. First things first, you have to fix the incentives. Think about it. If your developers are only rewarded for shipping features, and your operations team is only rewarded for preventing outages, you have literally built a tug of war right into your system. Real success means rewarding a balance between the two. It means empowering teams to make smart trade-offs between speed and stability together. We've touched on this already, but it's so important it's worth saying again. You absolutely must end the blame game. When an incident happens, the goal of a postmortem isn't to find the person who messed up. The goal is to understand the systemic reasons why that mistake was even possible. It's about learning from it so it doesn't happen again. Blame creates fear, but blamelessness creates learning. It's that simple. And finally, there has to be what's called parity of esteem. It's a fancy way of saying respect. If operations is seen as somehow less valuable or less prestigious than development, you will never have a true partnership. This means making sure they have similar career paths, similar influence in decisions, and, yeah, similar pay. Without that foundational respect, the whole system just gets thrown off balance.
So let's bring it all home. DevOps is the what and the why. It's the big picture philosophy of collaboration, automation, and shared responsibility. SRE is a specific how. It's one really successful engineering-focused way to implement that DevOps philosophy. They are definitely relatives, not rivals, and they're both working together to make production better for everyone.
And that brings us to the final and I think most crucial takeaway. Every single organization already has a philosophy for how it operates, even if nobody's ever written it down. So the question for you is, what is the actual day-to-day practice that's bringing your philosophy to life? Thanks for joining this explainer.